Everybody, welcome back. These are the films that we loved of 1941. These are the best movies of 1941. All right, I'm Tony. Thank you for joining me at Yesteryear. And today, let's get started on the movies we loved of 1941. Here comes Mr. Jordan, comedy, fantasy, and romance. Boxer Joe Pendleton dies 50 years too soon due to a heavenly mistake and is given a new life as a millionaire playboy. Here comes Mr. Jordan. Remember Heaven Can Wait? With Warren Beatty? Joe Pendleton? Remember that? Adam had 4 sons. A governess becomes the center of a wealthy family after her employer's wife dies. Drama. Ingrid Bergman and Warner Baxter in Adam Had 4 Sons. Among the Living, drama and mystery. A mentally unstable man who has been kept in isolation for years escapes and causes trouble for his identical twin brother. Among the Living. Albert Decker and Susan Hayward. Among the Living, drama and mystery. Andy Hardy's private secretary. Andy is all set to graduate from high school when he flunks his English exam, despite the fact that the judge went through the trouble of getting him his very own private secretary. Andy Hardy's private secretary, featuring Mickey Rooney. Appointment for Love, comedy and romance. Charming Andre Cassile woos physician Jane Alexander, and the two impulsively get married. The honeymoon ends very quickly after Jane voices her progressive views on marriage. Comedy and romance. Charles Boyer and Sullivan. Appointment for Love. Babes on Broadway. Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland. Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney star in a musical directed by Busby Berkeley as 2 talented teenagers dreaming of success as babes on Broadway. Comedy and musical. Ball of Fire, Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. A group of professors working on a new encyclopedia while living in a Manhattan mansion take in a mouthy nightclub singer who is wanted by the police to help bring down her mob boss lover. Ball of Fire. Comedy and romance. The Big Store. A detective is hired to protect the life of a singer who has recently inherited a department store from the store's crooked manager. Featuring the Marx Brothers, The Big Store, and Tony Martin. Blood and Sand, featuring Tyrone Power and Susan Hayworth, or Rita Hayworth rather. Illiterate peasant Juan Gallardo rises meteorically to fame and fortune in the bullfight arena, only to sow the seeds of his own fall. Blossoms in the Dust. Drama and romance. After losing her young son, Edna Gladney opposes the unfair laws discriminating against children whose parents are unknown and opens an orphanage for those children. Blossoms in the Dust. Bowery Blitzkrieg, featuring the Bowery Boys or East Side Kids. While a cop steers a kid street fighter away from being a public nuisance, a petty hoodlum leads a studious kid into a life of crime. Bowery Blitzkrieg. Comedy, crime, and drama. Cheers for Miss Bishop. Dedicated Midwestern teacher Ella Bishop is distressed when her fiancé runs off with her vixenish cousin Amy. After Amy dies in childbirth, Ella is left to care for Amy's daughter, Hope. Cheers for Miss Bishop. Citizen Kane, one of the greatest films of all time. Following the death of publishing tycoon Charles Foster Kane, reporters scrambled to uncover the meaning of his final utterance, Rosebud. Drama, mystery, featuring Orson Welles, Citizen Kane. Caught in the Draft, Bob Hope and Dorothy Lamour. A movie star who can't stand loud noises accidentally joins the army. Comedy, one of the greatest comedies of all time of 1941. Caught in the Draft. Next up we have is The Devil and Miss Jones, featuring Jean Arthur. Comedy and romance. A tycoon goes undercover for ferret out agitators at a department store, but gets involved in their lives instead. The Devil and Miss Jones. Comedy and romance. They Died with Their Boots On. A highly fictionalized account of the life of George Armstrong Custer from his arrival at West Point in 1857 to his death and the Battle of Little Bighorn. Drama and romance. Dive Bomber, featuring Fred MacMurray and Errol Flynn. A military surgeon teams with a ranking Navy flyer to develop a high-altitude suit which will protect pilots from blacking out when they go into a steep dive. Drama, romance, and war. Dive Bomber. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll allows his dark side to run wild when he drinks a potion that turns him into the evil Mr. Hyde. Spencer Tracy. Drama, horror, and sci-fi. That was truly a good movie when it came out. Dressed to Kill. Detective Michael Shane and his girlfriend Joanne are on their way to be married when a scream from a nearby hotel room draws his attention to a pair of theatrical murders. Crime and mystery. Dressed to Kill. Lloyd Nolan. Hughes and Ryan. Dumbo, Walt Disney and Dumbo. Ridiculed because of his enormous ears, a young circus elephant is assisted by a mouse to achieve his full potential. Animation, adventure, and drama. Dumbo. You know who Dumbo? People make fun of Dumbo because of his ears. Poor Dumbo. The Face Behind the Mask. A disfigured watchmaker with a grudge against society embarks on a life of crime. Crime, drama, and horror. The Face Behind the Mask, featuring the legendary Peter Lorre. Next up we have is Flying Wild, featuring the East Side Kids. See, the East Side Kids and the Bowery Boys. A group of young men who work at an aviation factory begin to suspect that a doctor who runs an air ambulance service is secretly a spy transporting secret information from the plant to enemies. Flying Wild. Comedy and mystery. Footsteps in the Dark. Comedy, crime, and mystery. A respected investment advisor has a double life as a mystery writer and becomes involved in the real murder of a shady client. Errol Flynn in Footsteps in the Dark. 49th Parallel. Drama, thriller, and war. A World War II U-boat crew are stranded in northern Canada. To avoid internment, they must make their way to the border and get into the still neutral U.S. 49th Parallel. Four mothers, Adam Lemp and his four daughters Anne, Thea, Kay, and Emma, are in financial and emotional crisis. Thea's husband Ben has promoted a Florida housing development to everyone in town. Drama and romance. Four mothers. The Hamilton Woman. Drama, history, and romance. The story of courtesan and dance hall girl Emma Hamilton, including her relationships with Sir William Hamilton and Admiral Horatio Nelson, and her rise and fall. Set during the Napoleonic War. If I can learn how to talk. High Sierra. After being released from prison, notorious thief Roy Earl is hired by his old boss to help a group of inexperienced criminals plan and carry out the robbery of a California resort. High Sierra. Hold Back the Dawn. Drama and romance. Stopped in Mexico by U.S. immigration, George hopes to get into the country by marrying a citizen. Hold Back the Dawn, Charles Boyer, Olivia de Havilland, and Paulette Goddard. Drama and romance. Hold That Ghost, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. I love Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. After inheriting a fortune from a gangster, two dim-witted service station attendants find themselves stranded in a haunted house. Comedy and horror. This movie is a gem, a true gem. Honky Tonk. Fast-talking conman and grifter Candy Johnson rises to the corrupt boss of Yellow Creek, but this wife's alcoholic father tries to set things right. Clark Gable and Lana Turner in Honky Tonk. Comedy, crime, and drama. How Green Was My Valley. At the turn of the century, in a Welsh mining village, the Morgans, he stern, she gentle, raise coal mining sons and hope their youngest will find a better life. How Green Was My Valley. Walter Pidgeon. I Wake Up Screaming. Crime, drama, and horror. Why is Inspector Ed Cornell trying to railroad Frankie Christopher for the murder of model Vicki Lynn? Victor Mature, Carol Land, and Betty Grable. Hot Spot. I Wake Up Screaming. In the Navy, Russ Raymond, America's #1 crooner, disappears and joins the Navy under the name of Tommy Halstead. Dorothy Roberts, a magazine journalist, is intent on finding out who he really is. In the Navy, comedy, featuring Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. It Started with Eve. Comedy, music, and romance. In order to please his dying father, a man convinces a hat-check girl to impersonate his fiancée, but complications arise when the father's health suddenly improves. Comedy. I Wanted Wings, drama and war. The personal and professional lives of three men from different walks of life who joined the U.S. Army Air Corps are depicted. I Wanted Wings. Ray Milland, William Holden, Wayne Morris, and Brian Donnelly. Kathleen, featuring you-know-who, Shirley Temple. Kathleen is a 12-year-old girl who lives in a big house with a nanny, a butler, maids, no mother, and a father who is working most of the time. Notice how every Shirley Temple movie, she's like an orphan or was dumped off at some house and someone found her. She's always an orphan. Keep 'em Flying. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. 1941 was a great year, the best draw in the box office. When a barnstorming stunt pilot joins the Air Corps, his two goofball assistants decide to go with him. Keep 'em Flying, featuring Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. They were the king comedic duo of the 40s. King of the Zombies. Adventure, comedy, and horror. On a spooky island, three stranded travelers find an evil doctor working with foreign spies and in control of zombies. Adventure, comedy, and horror. Dick Purcell and Joan Woodbury. Ladies in Retirement. The housekeeper to a retired actress tries at the same time to look after her own two emotionally disturbed sisters with dramatic results. Crime, drama, and mystery. Ladies in Retirement. Life begins for Andy Hardy. Hoping his son will attend his alma mater, Judge Hardy agrees to let Andy look for work in New York for the summer before committing to start college. Louis Stone, Mickey Rooney, and Faye Holden in Life Begins for Andy Hardy. So he graduated high school, now he's looking for work. Louisiana Purchase. A bumbling senator investigating graft in Louisiana is the target of a scheme involving a Viennese beauty, Bob Hope and Vera Zorina. Comedy and musical, The Louisiana Purchase. Love Crazy, featuring William Powell and Myrna Loy. Comedy and romance. A wife suspecting infidelity starts divorce proceedings, so the husband pretends to be insane in order to delay the divorce and clear up the misunderstanding. Comedy and romance. William Powell and Myrna Loy in Love Crazy. See, they're crazy. Manpower, comedy, and drama. Two friends who are members of a road crew employed by a Los Angeles power company battle the elements to restore electrical power, and trade punches over the same woman. Edward G. Robinson and George Raft. Manpower. Men of Boys Town. Mickey Rooney and Spencer Tracy return in the sequel to the original Boys Town. This time the school faces financial trouble as Father Flanagan tries to help every little boy he meets. Men of Boys Town. Mickey Rooney again returns with Spencer Tracy. Moon over Miami. Sisters Kay and Barbara arrive in Miami from Texas looking for rich husbands. That means it's going to be all kind of slutty in this movie. Donna Michi, Betty Grable, and Robert Cummings. Moon over Miami. So there may be a little bit of trappiness and sluttiness in that movie. Never give a sucker an even break. Comedy and musical. A filmmaker attempts to sell a surreal script he has written, which comes to life as he pitches it. Never give a sucker an even break. Featuring the legendary W.C. Fields. Nothing But the Truth, featuring Bob Hope and Paulette Goddard. A stockbroker's new partner bets $10,000 that he can only tell the truth for 24 hours. Remember the movie Liar Liar? Remember Liar Liar? So this is Nothing But the Truth. 1 Foot in Heaven. Biography, drama, and romance. Episodic look at the life of a minister and his family as they move from one parish to another. Folks, meet a grandfather, 1 foot in heaven. Next up we have is Our Wife. Jerry Marvin, a talented musician and composer, wallows in drunken self-pity after he is divorced by his wife, Babe. Along comes new love, Susan, who rescues Jerry and provides him with fresh new look of life. Our Wife. Comedy, musical, and romance. Out of the Fog. Crime, drama, and mystery. A Brooklyn pier racketeer bullies boat owners into paying protection money, but two fed-up fishermen decide to eliminate the gangster themselves rather than complain to the police. Out of the Fog. Penny Serenade, a tearjerker, wonderful movie up for Academy Best Actor and Best Picture. A couple's big dreams give way to a life full of unexpected sadness and unexpected joy. Penny Serenade. Irene Dunne and Cary Grant were brilliant in this movie. Pimpernel Smith, Professor Horatio Smith, while seeming very unassuming, rescues victims of Nazis' persecution during World War II. Adventure, drama, and thriller. Pimpernel Smith. Featuring Leslie Howard. Meet John Doe. A penniless drifter, Gary Cooper, is recruited by an ambitious columnist, Barbara Stanwyck, to impersonate a non-existent person who said he'd be committing suicide as a protest. Meet John Doe. Comedy, drama, and romance. Tobacco Road, comedy and drama. Hillbilly family farm life in 1941, rural Georgia. Tobacco Road. Gene Tierney, Spencer Tracy. At last, it's on the screen. You'll Never Get Rich. In order to cover up his philandering ways, a married Broadway producer sets one of his dancers up on a date with a chorus girl for whom he had bought a gift, but the two dancers fall in love. Comedy and romance. You'll Never Get Rich. Fred Astaire and Rita Hayworth. Sundown. In 1941, a mysterious Somaliland native woman helps the British against the Nazis. Drama and war. Sundown, featuring Gene Tierney and Bruce Cabot. Next up we have is A Woman's Face, featuring Joan Crawford and Melvyn Douglas. A female blackmailer with a disfiguring facial scar meets a plastic surgeon who offers her the possibility of looking like a normal woman. Drama, thriller, A Woman's Face. Pot of Gold, comedy, musical, and romance. Jimmy goes to work with his uncle, the owner of a food factory, Before he gets there, he befriends an Irish family who happens to be his uncle's worst enemy because of their love for music. Pot of Gold, James Stewart and Paulette Goddard. Riders of the Purple Sage, drama and western. Lasseter discovers the judge, Barrett, who cheated his niece of her inheritance, leads a gang of bad guys posing as vigilantes. Riders of the Purple Sage. Road to Zanzibar, adventure, comedy, and musical. Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, and Dorothy Lamour. Stranded in Africa, Chuck and his pal Fearless have comic versions of jungle adventures, featuring two attractive conwomen. Road to Zanzibar. Sergeant York, one of the greatest films of all time. A Tennessee farmer and marksman is drafted into World War I and struggles with his pacifist inclinations before becoming one of the most celebrated war heroes. Sergeant York, biography, drama, and history, featuring Gary Cooper. Shadow of the Thin Man, comedy, crime, and drama, and thriller. A jockey has been shot dead at the racetrack. Famous detective Nick Charles and his wife Nora happen to be on the scene, and Lieutenant Abrams asks for Nick's expert help. Shining Victory, drama. A Scottish sanitarium, a brilliant research psychiatrist, works on a treatment for dementia precox. He falls for his altruistic female lab assistant, and they begin a passionate love affair, but tragic. Shining Victory. So Ends Our Night, drama and war. Story about 3 German refugees during World War II who are always hiding, always in fear of deportation. So Ends Our Night. Frederick March, Margaret Sullivan, and D. Next up is a great movie I love. I've watched it over and over. Bela Lugosi in Spooks Run Wild, featuring the East Side Kids, Bowery Boys, East Side Kids. The boys are stranded in a small rural town. They hear about a monster killer roaming the countryside. At night, they sneak out and try to find the killer. Spooks Run Wild. The Strawberry Blonde. Quick-tempered yet likable Biff Grimes falls for the beautiful Virginia Brush. But he is not the only young man in the neighborhood who is smitten with her. James Cagney, Olivia de Havilland, Strawberry Blonde. Rita Hayworth is also in the film. Sullivan's Travels. Hollywood director John L. Sullivan sets out to experience life as a homeless person in order to gain relevant life experience for his next movie. Sullivan's Travels. That would be a nice concept for 2023. With all the homeless people, some directors do the same concept. Suspicion. This is a great movie. Cary Grant and Joe Fontaine. A shy young heiress marries a charming gentleman and soon begins to suspect he is planning to murder her. Alfred Hitchcock's thriller. Mystery, thriller, drama, it has it all. Cary Grant. Swamp Water. Crime, drama, and mystery. Attempting to find his lost dog in a vast Georgia swamp, Ben Reagan stumbles upon wanted murderer Tom Keeper, who convinces Ben he was framed for the murder by the real killer. Swamp Water. Tanks a Million. Adventure, comedy, and romance. An army draftee with a good memory makes sergeant and saves the day. Tanks a Million, featuring William Tracy. This movie is gold. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Tanks a Million. Tarzan's Secret Treasure. Tarzan's jungle home and his family, Jane and Boy, are threatened by men greedy for gold. Action, adventure, and romance. Tarzan's Secret Treasure. Featuring John Weissmuller. He made an excellent Tarzan. Next up we have Texas. Remember we had Texas, we had Nevada, we had Montana. Here comes Texas. 2 young men head west in search of fortune and adventure. Western. A lot of Western movies were named after states. Texas, Nevada, Wyoming, Montana. You'll see. The Great Mr. Nobody. Comedy, drama, and romance. Perpetual optimist Dreamy Smith aspires to quit his job as a newspaper publicity drudge and sail the world. But life, as you know it, is different. The Great Mr. Nobody. The Bride Came COD. Comedy and romance. A financially strapped charter pilot hires himself to an oil tycoon to kidnap his madcap daughter and prevent her from marrying a vapid band leader. The Bride Came COD. Comedy and romance. All That Money Can Buy. The Devil and Daniel Webster. Drama, fantasy, and romance. A 19th century New Hampshire farmer makes a pact with Satan for economic success, then enlists famed orator Daniel Webster to extract him from his contract. The Great Lie. Drama. After a newlywed's husband apparently dies in a plane crash, she discovers that her rival for his affections is pregnant with his child. Bette Davis in The Great Life, featuring George Brett. The Lady Eve. Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda. Comedy and romance. A trio of classy card sharks targets a socially awkward brewery heir until one of them falls in love with him. The Lady Eve. Comedy and romance. The Little Foxes featuring Bette Davis. Drama and romance. The ruthless, money-eyed Hubbard clan lives in and poisons their part of the Deep South at the turn of the 20th century. Bette Davis in The Little Foxes. The Maltese Falcon is an awesome movie. Crime, mystery, and thriller. San Francisco private detective Sam Spade takes on a case that involves him with 3 eccentric criminals, a gorgeous liar, and their quest for a priceless statuette. The Maltese Falcon. The Shanghai Gesture. In Shanghai, Dragon Lady Mother Jin Sling operates a gambling house for wealthy patrons, but she clashes with influential land developer Sir Guy Charteris, who wants to put her out of business. Crime, drama, and thriller. The Shanghai Gesture. The Shepherd of the Hills. Adventure, drama, and romance. A mysterious but pleasant stranger arrives in the Missouri hills and befriends a young backwoods girl, which doesn't sit well with her moonshiner fiancé, who has vowed to find and kill this person. Adventure, drama, and romance. The Shepherd of the Hills. The Smiling Ghost. An heiress seems to be cursed as each of her intended grooms meets with a horrible end. The Smiling Ghost. Comedy, horror, and mystery. Wayne Morris, Brendan Marshall, and Alexis Smith. One of the greatest movies of all time is The Wolfman. Larry Talbot returns to his father's castle in Wales and meets a beautiful woman. One fateful night, Talbot escorts her to a local carnival where they meet a mysterious gypsy fortune teller. The Wolfman. He gets bit and becomes a wolfman. They met in Bombay. Clark Gable and Rosalind Russell. A jewel thief and a con artist are rivals in the theft of a valuable gem as the Japanese army invades China. Adventure, comedy, and crime. They met in Bombay. Thieves Fall Out. Eddie Barnes, tired of being a nobody and living with his parents, decides to cash in his mother's legacy and use the money to buy a business. Comedy. Thieves Fall Out. Featuring Eddie Albert. Remember Eddie Albert? Green Acres? There he is. To the Shores of Tripoli. Life at the Marine Training Base in San Diego on the eve of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Drama, romance, and war. John Payne, Maureen O'Hara, and Randolph Scott. To the Shores of Tripoli. This movie is a gem. A lot of clips from San Diego. Two-Faced Woman. Greta Garbo and Melvin Douglas. After a ski instructor catches her husband flirting with an old flame, she decides to pose as her fictitious twin sister in an attempt to keep him faithful. Comedy, music, and mystery. Two-Faced Woman. I can see that movie being made in 2023. When Ladies Meet. A successful novelist falls in love with her married publisher, to the consternation of her boyfriend, who arranges for her to meet the publisher's wife. When Ladies Meet. Joan Crawford, Robert Taylor, and Greer Garson. Comedy, drama, and romance. Whistling in the Dark. Comedy, crime, and mystery. Radio crime show host The Fox, along with his fiancée and ex-girlfriend, are kidnapped by a larcenist cult who demand that he help them plan a perfect murder. Whistling in the Dark. Lastly, we have is Ziegfeld Girl, drama, musical, and romance. In the 1920s, three women become performers in the renowned Broadway show The Ziegfeld Follies, where they find fame, love, and tragedy. Ziegfeld Girls. Garland, Lamar, Turner, and Stewart. Those are the films that we loved of 1941. They are the best movies of 1941. If there's any film titles that I forgot, leave them below. Maybe I can do another follow-up video on those films. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, my name is Tony. You're here at Yesteryear, and today, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you all in the next video.